At a time.
All right, cool. We're good to go? All right.
Yep.
I call the August 18th of 2026 meeting of Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Consider a motion for approval of the minutes from the August 5th, 2026 Planning and Zoning session. Do we have a motion to approve these minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Is there any old business? We have no unfinished business, so we will proceed to the new business. First item on our agenda tonight is a public hearing to discuss, review, proposed amendment to accessory use of development and operational standard. Does the staff have a report?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So at the July 20th Board of Aldermen meeting, the board directed staff to prepare a report to the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the proposed amendment to the Unified Development Code, or UDC, to reduce the minimum setback requirements for accessory structures. The city's current accessory structure regulations were established with the adoption of the UDC in 2003. The UDC establishes the zoning district's development standards and regulations for accessory structures, including the current requirements that accessory structures be located a minimum of 8 feet from the rear and side property lines. So our current standards apply to those accessory structures as accessory uses to the principal residential use, and establishes the standards governing their location, size, height, and placement. In reviewing other cities' codes, which is in your packet, you can see that Blue Springs is 2.5 feet for rear setback and 2.5 feet for side setback. Grain Valley, Odessa, Belton, Independence, and Peculiar are all 5 feet rear and 5 feet for the side. Oak Grove is 8 feet for rear and 8 feet for side, and Kearney is 10 feet rear and 8 feet for the side. So at the July 20th board meeting, they directed staff to bring back a recommendation to align our code with 5 feet to be more consistent with our peer cities and neighbors. Staff does find the proposed revisions in your packet are consistent with the intent of the Unified Development Code, which seeks to promote the orderly growth of the city, reduce unnecessary regulatory barriers, and ensure zoning regulations adapt to the evolving needs of our community and stay current with development practices. Aligning our accessory use setback standards more closely with our peer cities promotes the efficient land use while maintaining appropriate development standards. So in your packet is a draft ordinance that would go to the board. You guys certainly can amend that as you wish. So in this, you can see where the changes are. Bold underlines are additions, red strike-throughs are deletions. So the 8 feet for rear setback has been replaced with 5 feet. Fences and walls shall not be subject to the minimum rear or side setback, so you can still put your fence along your property line. And then the side setback has been removed. In red there you can see, and added that accessory structures should not be required to comply with the side setback standard that applies to principal uses. So that would be the larger principal use setback of, say, 10 feet. Accessory structures other than fence or walls shall, however, be set back at least 5 feet from the side lot lines. Fences and walls shall not be subject to the minimum side setback requirements of accessory structures. We wanted to make sure that each section was very clear on what was and wasn't required. So that's why this side setback section, there was additional language was added to just make sure that everyone's understanding that the rear is 5 as well as the side is 5. And then just to cross-reference another section of code, so if somebody's just looking here for accessory structures, we added section 8, which is non-residential design standards, simply stating that non-residential accessory structures shall be subject to comply with the non-residential design standards in section 405.260. That section already applies to accessory structures. But we wanted to make sure that if somebody was looking just through in this section for accessory structures, they would see that cross-reference and they could go to that section for the non-residential design standards. Those sections would not apply to residential accessory structures, just to commercial, industrial, things like that. So what this ordinance does is essentially reduces the side and rear from 8 to 5, and then adds that cross-reference for non-residential design standards. So with that, I'd be happy to answer questions the commission may have.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just me, but I'm struggling with the wording. I don't quite understand it on page 2 of the proposed bill. Number 3. The accessory structures shall not be required to comply with the side setback standard that applies to principal uses. What is principal uses? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that would be the side setbacks that would be applied to like R1, R2, R3 standards. So those would be different than the accessories use. So the accessory structure doesn't have to comply with the principal setbacks that are established in the R1, R2, or R3 zoning restrictions.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I was struggling with that.
Sorry.
That wasn't for you. You're okay. You guys good, or you want me to go to the public hearing?
Yeah, you can just ask.
Yeah.
Ask them all.
Oh, my sorry. Are you guys good? Or we can just move on to the public hearing? Do you have any questions? All right, perfect. All right. Members of the public who wish to offer testimony regarding the proposed amendment may now step forward and give their comments. Please state your name and address for the record prior to the beginning of your comments. Please speak into the microphone. If you have questions regarding the application, state your questions to me, and I will follow up and request an answer when you have finished your comments. Anyone who wishes to testify, please come forward to the microphone at this time. I will now open for public hearing.
Roger Lake, 36510 East Church Road.
Hold on one second.
Roger Lake, 36510 East Church Road. So did I hear that correctly? This is only going to affect industrial, not residential, the setback?
It'd be both.
Go ahead and just answer that.
It would be both. It would be both. Excuse me, it would be both.
It will both be commercial, industrial, and residential. So the setback, is that for that 5 feet for if a homeowner decides to build a shed or a building, it has to be 5 feet from the property owner,
Correct, from the property line.
from the property line?
Yeah,
So we're going from 8 feet to 5 feet,
correct,
and it's for industrial, commercial, and residential.
correct.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, if there are no more public comments, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the members of the commission to the city staff? All right. So we don't need to make a motion on this or not? We just go straight to the next item? I guess the next item is on. All right, the next item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding recommending approval or denial to the Board of Aldermen for,
You have to close your public hearing.
I did. Did I not? Oh, I think I did. I did. I said there are no more comments, we'll close the public hearing. And I said to move on to the next one.
Do you have them, that for the minutes? Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
She motioned, that's why.
She didn't hear me? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, if there are no more public comments, I will now close the public hearing. The next item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and a possible action regarding recommending approval or denial to the Board of Aldermen for the proposed amendment to accessory use development and operational standard. Does the staff have a report? What? Sorry, I went backwards. I apologize. So yeah, we're at the motion. Do we have a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion, but I was waiting to see if anybody wanted to discuss it first. So, I mean,
Absolutely, we can discuss it.
I don't have anything to say about it. I just was giving people an opportunity before.
Does anybody else want to discuss it or have anything that they want to talk or state about it?
No, I can say that I think the board's thoughts that were when we reduced lot sizes, it made it a little more difficult for homeowners to fit in that 8-foot, and different board members had been approached by this, and so it seemed logical to take a look at it.
We adjusted setbacks and stuff on a bunch of other stuff several months ago, didn't we? Didn't that come up before, or was that? the
But not
lot
for,
size?
A lot size,
yeah,
I
for,
think.
not for this. Just as Pam said.
Yeah, it wasn't accessory
Right.
structures, it was,
ADUs maybe.
And since our lot sizes for single-family was 9,000, and then we reduced it, we were getting calls and questions from constituents asking about their their buildings, of building them, because it was harder now. If that helps with the discussion or
Does that
questions.
cause anything with fire, like fire being able to, I don't know, this just a thought, I don't know, does that, with the ability to fight a fire in a structure like that, with it being closer?
You mean as far as code? Justin? Thank you.
If there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of the revisions to the Board of Aldermen.
Would you pull your mic up so it will get audio? Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Next item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding recommending approval with modifications or denial of the preliminary plat for Edgewood Farms R1 estate lots. The staff, do you have a report?
Yes, thank you. So the applicant Ward Development has requested approval of a preliminary plat for Edgewood Farms, which will be 51 single-family estate-style lot. Is that better? Is that coming through at all?
Already getting feedback.
How about now? Is that better?
Feedback. It was ringing.
Garrett, is it coming through this?
Speak into it.
You got it? Yes, no?
Oh, you're looking right at me, talking to the mic.
Well, I can, it's talking. I mean, can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. The applicant Ward Development is requesting approval of a preliminary plat for Edgewood Farms consisting of 51 single-family estate-style lots which would be on 170 acres generally located south of R.D. Mize and 12th Street. The Planning and Zoning Commission may approve with conditions, or deny the application. The commission may continue or postpone action at a later meeting. Under City Code Section 405.420 for preliminary plats, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall determine based on the evidence before it whether the preliminary plat meets the design standards, requirements of subdivision regulations, and conforms with the requirements of the Unified Development Code for comprehensive plan and other applicable provisions and standards of the City of Oak Grove. If the preliminary plat does comply with all those requirements, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall approve the preliminary plat. The approval shall be recorded and attached to the preliminary plat. If the preliminary plat is in general compliance but not complete compliance, the Planning and Zoning Commission may grant conditional approval for then those things to be amended. If the preliminary plat is not in compliance with all the requirements of the Planning Commission, it shall then disapprove the plat. Some background on this development. The property is currently zoned R1 for single-family residential use. It's proposed to be developed as an estate-style subdivision consisting of 51 3-acre or larger lots. In September of 2021, the Planning Commission approved a preliminary plat for this subdivision, the number of 379 lots. That approval expired in 2023 due to inactivity by the developer. In February of 2024, the applicant resubmitted the previously approved preliminary plat, which was reapproved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Civil permits were approved for Phase 1, but construction never commenced. The 2024 preliminary plat approval has also since expired. The developer has spent time re-looking at this piece of property and wants to now propose a reduction from that 379 lots down to 51 lots. So the proposed preliminary plat includes 51 estate-style lots on that 170 acres. The lots are designed to be at least 3 acres or larger and will be served by individual septic system as approved by the Missouri National Department of Resources as well as Jackson County. The estate-style subdivision, they also have requested certain deviations from city standards, including curb and gutter and sidewalk requirements interior to the development. This includes no interior sidewalks and ribbon curb along with open ditch drainage in lieu of curb and gutter interior to the development. Staff has reviewed the preliminary plat for compliance with the Unified Development Code supporting documentation. The applicant provided water quality, availability analysis, stormwater study, Missouri DNR approval with private septic systems. They also provided a traffic impact analysis. The preliminary plat was distributed to the applicable utility providers, Tenaya Valley Fire Protection District, Oak Grove Police Department, and the Oak Grove School District. Letters were also sent to adjacent property owners informing them of this proposed preliminary plat. Staff finds that the proposed preliminary plat complies with the Unified Development Code as well as our subdivision regulations. It complies with R1 single-family zoning district standards. The proposed estate-style lots are consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and future land use designation. They are compatible with the surrounding residential development in terms of overall density and size. In fact, this would be the largest lot acreage subdivision in Oak Grove. The requested deviations for curb, gutter, and sidewalks are permitted underneath the Unified Development Code for estate-style subdivisions. Staff does recommend approval of the Edgewood Farms preliminary plat subject to several conditions. One, suburban estate-style light street design is allowed under 405.435 D12, shall be utilized including a ribbon curb and vegetative drainage ditches in lieu of traditional curb and gutter with an enclosed storm sewer system. No interior sidewalks shall be required as permitted for estate-style subdivisions as allowed under 405.440.C.5. However, sidewalks shall be constructed along the development frontage on 15th Street. Each lot shall be served by an individual private septic system in lieu of being connected to the city's gravity sewer system. A westbound right turn lane shall be constructed on 12th Street as identified in the traffic impact analysis, as well as an approved development agreement between the City of Oak Grove and the developer authorizing the estate-style subdivision. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. In your packet is a letter both from the developer as well as the engineer requesting the estate-style deviations. They've provided the preliminary plat information as required, the traffic impact analysis, the water analysis, and other information is also available in your packet, as well as DNR's approval of the private septic systems. The applicant, as well as your engineer, as I stated, is here for further questions. And there's also, I believe, members, neighbors that would also like to provide information, if you want to allow them to.
Okay,
It's not a formal, we don't have to have a public hearing,
Yeah.
but you can allow.
We can allow them to do it.
Provide testimony.
all right, perfect. Thank you, city staff. We'll allow it if somebody's here that wants to come up and speak.
Let's listen, let's hear from Brian first. Do you
Oh,
mind?
sorry,
So
yeah,
we
sorry
can-
about that. I see
So
you
we
here.
can, and then we might want to hear what Brian has to say about it, and it'll help with conversation.
Thank you. My name is Brian Ron. I'm with Ward Development, 1120 Eagle Ridge Boulevard, Green Valley, Missouri. Appreciate your consideration this evening, Mayor Webb, Commissioners. So, as mentioned in the staff report, we've looked at this property for some time and previously had it approved for a typical lot subdivision. And, due to several different factors, we kind of thought that it would be appropriate to go in a different direction. And that direction that we decided on was to do a large lot subdivision, similar to some things that we're doing in some other areas. And, with looking at the topography there, it's a beautiful piece of ground. And then looking at the neighborhood, and the market here, we felt that the large lot subdivision was appropriate there. We, have been discussing it with the city for some time, worked through the different considerations that would be necessary, and, bringing it to you this evening. As mentioned, we've cut the density down tremendously. We are expecting it to be, the upper end of values in the area. The lots are going to be at approximately $200,000, and the homes, as we're expected, are going to run, likely upper sixes to, close to $1 million. We're doing a similar subdivision in another area called Heritage Farms, and it's been very, very successful. And, we're anticipating similar styles homes, and the homes there are also ranging, 7 to 9 are the typical homes there. The piece of ground that we're looking at here, we've actually gone through several different designs to make sure that the home sites all work. There's a lot of rock up there. There's, a lot of topography we're working with, but it adds so much character to the site. I don't know if any of you have ever been up there. There's a tree-lined corridor that comes in. There's an existing silo. We're anticipating that area to become a park. We're going to keep that tree-lined corridor. The sidewalk that was just mentioned are going to tie into an interior trail system around the park. And then as you go into the subdivision, it would be more rural, 3-acre, style lots. The homes are going to sit back further than, our typical, right there, at the setback lines and things like that. So, we're excited about it. Hopefully, it's something that, is going to be, unique here in Oak Grove, a community like this. We have several other, steps up to, these style homes and price points in this type of community. But we didn't see anything quite like this, and we think it's appropriate. More than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Anybody have questions for him?
Can you describe the ribbon curb? There's not really a visual of it, and
I can bring up the engineer to get more specific, but essentially, rather than the curb that's going to channel water just specifically down the streets and everything, it's more of a rural type of curb that's going to allow water to flow naturally into the system that we're designing to channel the water. But it's not the high back curb that, or the lazy back curbs that you're used to. Richard, you want to come up and describe the purpose of the curbs?
Richard Michael, 25604 Northeast Colburn Road. So in an industrial type commercial setting, you would have what's called high back curb or CG1 that has about a 6-inch tall back on it. In a subdivision, you would have a CG2 that's called lazy back because it's mountable by cars when you go into a driveway. A ribbon curb is essentially just flat. It really just frames in the roadway, the asphalt, to give it a nice picture frame look while still allowing the water to sheet flow into a vegetated swale for the drainage system.
so it's concrete?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe on one of the sheets that was provided, there's a typical section. It may show it on the edges of the road there. It's a small detail, I admit, but yeah, it is in concrete.
And then the right turn lane is coming out of the current Edgewood? Is that, it be coming out of there, turning right onto?
It'd be going eastbound on 15th to do a right-hand into the subdivision.
Eastbound on
That's correct.
15, westbound on 12.
Matt mentioned westbound previously. I think it was eastbound is the right turn lane as you come into the development off of 15th. At the main entrance, which is the easternmost entrance. It lines up with is it 12th Street on the north side?
Here, and then it says westbound on 12, so I was
It
confused.
does.
Yeah,
I misspoke. When I said westbound, it'd be eastbound.
It'd be eastbound.
okay, all right, that makes sense, okay, thank you.
Sorry for the confusion.
It's okay.
Anybody else have questions for him?
I would ask, I hadn't had a chance to go through the whole packet, but have you done the perk tests and stuff for these on-site lateral systems?
Yes, yeah. So part of that DNR approval that we've received, when you do a subdivision of this size, you have to get approval for the whole development from DNR. Part of that is, I believe you have to have one soil test per every 10 acres. So we did 17 of them for this 170. We tried to locate them that made sense within the lots. Granted, we didn't do 51 of them. And those tests come back, we submit that to DNR to show the load rate and the soil reports, and they sign off on it saying, yep. So it's the types of systems have already been dedicated based on the soil rate. So then that's all been worked out. So then, yeah, from here, it would go to county review and approval when it's the on-site individual designs. Does that make sense?
So the county approves the,
Well, yes, to my understanding, right, Matt, is because these are on-site septic, the sewer portion of it is actually a county item.
Yeah, in city limits, Jackson County approves it.
okay,
Lafayette, we approve them on Lafayette side, but in Jackson County side,
okay.
Jackson County is the one who approves it.
Anybody else have any questions for you, gentlemen?
Is that?
Does anybody else have questions for them? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This is not a formal public hearing, but we will allow, if anybody does want to come up to the microphone, they come up, please state your name, your address, and everything we did the first half. Thank you.
Again, Roger Lake, 36510 East Church Road. I believe I'm the largest property owner butting up to this from Church Road. Actually, our family farm, we raise cattle. The north side of our property is approximately half a mile wide. So the half a mile of this development on the north side of our property, that's going to affect us. On the east side, probably a third of our property. If you all got one of these things, y'all got one of those?
Yes.
We're this little cutout right here. You don't have a big flat map, do you? So everybody can see what I'm talking about.
Not here this evening.
Okay, so that's our property. Our property's 60 acres is a half mile deep, a quarter mile wide. So I'll recorrect that. So the backside is a quarter of a mile wide. I got a few questions. The first one, when you put in single-family homes like this, like I said, we have cattle, we got barns, we got ponds. Is there going to be some kind of means from the developer for the people that butt up to this, a privacy fence or some type of fence to keep the residents from intruding on properties? That's my first question. Because they're going to bring in kids, and kids just want to go and explore, right? So that's one of the questions I'd like to have answered. Secondly, that's why I'm requesting some dialogue about a privacy fence or some kind of fence to keep them from coming in there. Next, looking at this plat, it's got several roundabouts or cul-de-sacs. Has the Planning and Zoning Board staff talked to the fire district? Because I just left a fire district meeting about, are these cul-de-sacs big enough to handle a fire truck coming around them? Because the district's in the process of buying new fire trucks. So has staff contacted the district to look over, the fire district to look over these cul-de-sacs to make sure fire trucks can adequately service that area? That's my next question. I know approximately 25 years ago, Oak Grove had a 20-year plan, which has expired, you know. At that time, they was thinking about running a sewer line down the ditch, the watershed that starts up there on Cemetery Road that comes down there. There's approximately 500 acres that runs into that ditch. So is there still plans, that's my third question, of running a sewer line down our ditch? You know, I understand what they said, that they perk test everything. So my question is, are they planning on tying into Oak Grove sewers? I kind of heard that. Are they planning on septics, or are they planning on polishing ponds? I'd like a little definition on those subjects right there. You know, how the runoff's going to go. So I may have more questions. I know I have several neighbors here that like to have questions as well. I may be back up.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wanted to step forward and have a comment or a question or anything of that nature?
I'm Linda Roadlander. We're on 36307 East Artie Mize. And I'm curious about where this water's going to go. Is it going to go, does it have places to go, east, west, north, south, or does it stay on the property and go into septic tanks or whatever? Is it going to run over on any of the neighbors' properties?
I think that we're waiting to hear all the questions, and then we'll have the developer come
Oh.
back up.
Okay, so you're not
Yeah.
going to answer mine right now? Oh,
Right. Well, some of them they'll need to answer.
okay,
Yeah,
thank you,
yeah.
thank you.
Nathan Brown, 2101 Osage Drive. I noticed on the map, on one of the cul-de-sacs that butts up to the east side, it looks like there's an easement of some sort that I wasn't sure. I was curious about that. That comes right into my property, and I was wondering what the intentions were, if that's what that is, or if that's something else. I can show you if somebody's got a map up. Let's see where we're at.
I believe the two lines, this is already mine.
It's right here.
Around, he's speaking around lot 37 and lot 38. Thank you.
I just noticed that was the only roundabout that looked like it had that, and I was curious what the intentions were in the end with that. That comes right into my property. I was wondering what the septic, you guys said it perked, what was it advanced systems or basic systems that perked out for, or morphology reported for? Sounded like you guys did a morphology report. I was curious what that came up with. We talked about how much rock is in there. Septic system's not a good system. A basic system would not be good on a rocky situation. Runoff, all the runoff that comes off, I'm concerned with. We all have cattle and livestock all the way around this place. A lot of that water for the animals comes out of that ditch that runs the entire distance down the east side and north and south, or heading east and west and north and south of that entire second phase. I think that's probably all I got. So one other thing, the ribbon curb, when you hit the lots, we're talking about a retention area on each lot running around. So you're pulling in, you're going over a culvert to get into your driveway, and we have actual retention on the front of those lots all the way around this place, or we just ribbon curb right into the yard frontage. I am concerned with runoff for sure. So that's it.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Matt Reeder, 37400 East Hillside School Road. My property is on the south side of this property, and same concerns with the runoff. The property elevation has a significant drop down into that creek that they're mentioning. So the fact that we would have all this additional runoff into that creek is a concern for flooding and things like that, as well as our livestock. So I'd be curious. And then when I was looking at the plats, I didn't see anything for these drainage ditches. All I see is lots. So I'd be curious where those drainage ditches are and where they're going to flow. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
My name's Michaela Diebold, and I'm at 6619 South Stillhouse Road. My property backs up to lot 51 on the map, and I do have the same similar questions about runoff. I have a creek that runs through my property that my animals are access, and then I also was curious what the time frame is for this, specifically Phase 2, since that's what lot 51 is in for me. And will there be some sort of stake survey or survey to where I know in advance whether or not that lot is going to encroach into my property line? I'm sure, like most of my neighbors, the property lines aren't by the tree corridor that he's talking about. Our properties go into that tree corridor. So the trails and the other things that he was talking about, I just want to make sure that those aren't going to be encroaching into my property as well. And I think that's it for right now.
Thank you.
Again, Roger Lake, 36510 East Church Road. So earlier, you're doing an ordinance from 8 feet to 5 feet, right? I believe the county is a little bit more than that. Most of us live in the county, not in the city limits. I get that. So that, that's why I asked the question earlier, 8 feet to 5 feet. So these residents, the question to the developer, are these residents going to be allowed to build a building or any structure within 5 feet of our property? I know you talked about, smaller lots in the city, people needed to put a shed up or something. I would like to see some kind of restriction on how close they come to our property, maybe along the guidelines of what the county does.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Looks like one more.
One more? Oh, I can't see your things right there. Thank you.
I'm Christine Nicolaisen. I actually live over at 3300 Southfields Road, but my daughter is Michaela. So we have been kind of looking at this quite a bit and have a little bit of familiarity with the subdivisions themselves. I actually am a real estate agent, so I've seen this come and go quite a bit. I had very similar concerns with realizing that 3 acres is what the minimum is for Jackson County to be able to actually have a septic system. And if you look at the topography of actually how those lay, especially the ones here that are on the west and the south side, when you look at how that runoff is, and especially with the way that the rock and where that sediment lays, I think that the biggest concern will be whether this septic is going to actually retain that or where that leach is going to end up going, because you can't tell me that there's not going to be a way for that to find a pathway back down with the way that topography actually stands. So.
Nathan Brown again, Osage Drive. Along with that, is there, if this goes through and moves on, is there a down the road process that we could get to have that creek tested occasionally to know that everything's still safe, or is it just, nah, we're done, we're out, houses are built, that's something I wonder about.
All right, thank you. All right, go ahead.
She's got a.
Linda Rodelander again.
Yep, go ahead.
Artemis, I do have a question like Roger had about the property butting up against these properties against our properties. Will there be something to keep these people off our properties? Because we go way back from the north to the south, and we cannot see the south side of our property. How do we keep people off of it?
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else? Oh, all right, cool. We're just going to go ahead and go and open for discussion and answer some of these questions.
I was just going to respond to 2 things that were city-related, speak on behalf of the city, and then, Brian, if you don't mind coming up, I see you've been writing down the questions. One is in response to the comprehensive plan, which is what you're talking about, the 20-year plan. We did update that in 2023. There's a very good, on our website, you can read through that. So we have updated that. You're supposed to do those about every 10, 15 years. So we have updated that. And then just so you know, this is a planning and zoning meeting, and these people, they are recommending whether this goes on to the board, which is city council. And so there's, tonight they'll either say yes or no. No, they won't. The final approve. Oh, my bad.
Preliminary plats are final approved by the
Excuse me, I apologize. This would be just their decision whether this is approved tonight. So now, Brian, would you come back up? Sorry.
You're okay.
Should've done
That was
that.
nice, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to a couple things, and I'll have some things for Richard as well. I do appreciate all the comments, and these are things that we do look at and we have looked at with this community. Starting with some things that we absolutely have some plans in place, and others, at best I can give an explanation. So, for example, the fence question and the access question, as far as the property rights questions, we do not have plans in place to fence the property. Those would be individual homeowner, considerations. However, I mean, I can say the property is zoned R1. And, we feel that because of the large rural surrounding properties and stuff like that, that the much larger 3-acre lots are going to be less impactful than the typical R1 lots. So while, we're not doing a fence.
They can't hear you back there. Is this mic on, or?
So, I can back up and, if there was anything in particular that you heard that you'd like me to readdress, I'm more than happy to do that. But, we feel that the design that we have now and what we are asking to do with the property is far less impactful across the board, and most of the concerns that were raised this evening, we do hear the access, we currently have cattle on the property right now. We do a lot of cattle farming. We're very familiar. The storm, I'm going to let Richard speak to that a little bit further. The septic design, all of those things are fairly well regulated. So in addition to the testing that's been done so far, the next steps, there's additional testing. An engineer gets involved, an engineer designs a system based off the considerations of additional testing on the site. Then that system is installed and inspected, and then that system is designed to operate. We're not planning on any lagoons there, so they are going to typically be, design systems. Now, again, those have not been individually designed, but we would trust those professionals, DNR's recommendations, the county's recommendations, and then, yes, there is mechanisms in place, and I would imagine the city has some as well, if there are problems that pop up. But, those are all steps that would be taken with additional checks at each point. The stub streets, that were brought up, and that's there at lots 37 and 38, just good planning. We don't know what's, going to be down the road, whether or not that property develops. If it did ever develop, there needed to be an opportunity in place for streets to connect, for good planning, for fire safety, for those types of things. That's all that is, and that's at recommendation of, staff and good planning. As far as location of property lines, I'm more than happy to give anybody a card this evening, and, we would absolutely work with them as we're, going through the process to establish where those property lines are. Again, being very rural, it's very easy, one way or the other, a little bit, more than happy to work with those property owners. The setbacks, we are anticipating that based off the lot size, that the homes and structures and things like that would be, further from the property line than a typical R1. However, we don't have any mechanism in place other than to follow the city's codes on the setbacks. With that, I'm going to bring up Richard, and he can talk further on the storm questions.
Okay, nicely done, Brian. I'm going to really quickly make sure that my notes are taken care of as well. So, fire access, it's been approved by fire. They've already looked at it. Again, a lot of everything that will be designed is to the city's code. So nothing that we've brought before falls short of that per Matt's plan. So again, those kind of things really across the board, it's not just go put in what you want. We are following the code. Let's see. So sewer, I'm just going to hit on the sewer really quickly. So the process is when you want to do on-site treatment for a full subdivision is to get DNR approval and to go dig the soils, 1 pit per 10 acres to see what you find and make sure it is adequate for on-site septic systems, which then the DNR says, yep, you're good, you can maintain, you can go as low as 1 acre lots. We chose not to, again, with the theme of trying to not be so dense and lower the lot count. Now, we have soil maps that indicate where the better soil is, and we have tried to lay the lot layout per the topography to benefit, so every lot has a good spot to put this system in and good spot to put a house and probably an accessory structure of what you would typically see in that. So the layout has been combed over pretty meticulously for all of those things combined, while still using the topography to our advantage to have really nice lookouts. You know, this, at the top of the hill, you can see in miles for direction. So now, when it gets time to do those on-site septic designs, every lot will have to design that system, get it approved by the county, which follows DNR regulations. So again, all of those details will be worked out in lot development once infrastructure is in. Brian touched on the kind of the future planning. Again, not knowing what future holds is just a good idea to, instead of have lot lines, let's leave some open space so that in the future, if roadways need to go through, not to say that they are now at all, that's just a future planning. Okay, so it sounds like, lot line concerns Brian touched. Okay, so runoff as a whole, we provided a stormwater report. City has reviewed and approved it after a couple rounds of review comments. The whole idea with this is, again, unlike a standard subdivision where we have enclosed storm sewer system and pipes where the water is really channelized and going very quickly and lots of impervious area, we are intentionally trying to limit that in 51 lots of a house, driveway, accessory structure, roadway pavement, yes, but we're trying to, with the ribbon curb, put it in a roadside ditch that will be, the gentleman that spoke earlier, yes, there is a roadside ditch on both sides. There will be permanent ditch checks in those roadside ditches to try to hold and slow that water down as it traverses around the site, mainly for the water that is coming off the roads. All the water that's inside of the development will be not concentrated. It will be sheet flow across well-manicured lawns versus patchy, fields as today that maybe don't have any grass because of the rock. So yes, at driveway locations, there will be a culvert that they have to drop in the ditch to then traverse over. But yeah, the rules and regulations will be followed so that post-development runoff does not exceed pre-development runoff. So I think that answers most of the questions. If there's more, we'll happy to answer them.
The future roadway between 37 and 38, will that be installed like when you do the development?
No. The idea is, from a property and platting standpoint, is to make it so if in the future the lot lines and the dedication has already been taken care of, but no, it will all be cul-de-sacs.
There'll be no stub to your property, Mr. Brown.
Say that again?
There'll be no stub out to your property.
Okay, it'll
That's
just be a
just
cul-de-sac, that's just on the drawing for
future,
when they buy my place.
correct.
Would you comment about the easement that was asked about? I don't think you addressed that.
I think that's probably.
Is that what you were talking about, the
Yeah,
easement there? Okay.
The language on there, I think
couldn't
it's.
Thanks,
tell-
David.
I couldn't tell on the map that it was an easement, but it was direct, obvious something was
Okay.
a thought.
Yeah, the thought was, instead of making a property line, that would be
It's a good thought.
difficult to then, obtain 50 foot of right-of-way, is let's just leave it in a track now for future planning.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for them? All right, thank you. All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and move forward to commission, open for discussion. Do you have anything else you want to discuss about this?
Did we close kind of the open?
It wasn't an open, it was just,
Yeah, it
let's be
wasn't. It was
casual.
just, yeah.
No, I think we're done with questions and comments for now.
I do have a question for them. I thought you said earlier that we was allowed to ask questions. They're going to answer our questions. Now I have a question,
We did, and we moved on from that part.
but as I stated earlier, I was just at the fire district meeting. I went to the fire chief's office. He had the plat on his wall. He told me himself he has not approved anything for this development. So I would like to see the paperwork where the fire district approved on that. And as far as setbacks, developments all over the city, the county, for being good neighbors to us, they do work with us. And the city council has the ability to make those setbacks more than 5 feet. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, perfect. Could you guys verify the fire when they asked a question about fire trucks being able to enter around the roundabouts and things of that nature? Do you guys remember that question?
So I didn't personally speak to the fire department, but I can speak to the design of these streets, the size of these cul-de-sacs, the radiuses involved. Those are actually all in the city's codes. So any subdivision would have the exact same requirements. So this is not a situation where we're asking for any variance for anything, any type of street design that would affect that. So, and, we can confirm with staff there, these cul-de-sacs are per code. So that radius factors that in.
All right, thank you. All right. We're going to go ahead and close that part of this and move on to discussion with the board. Thank you. Does the board have any questions or have anything to discuss?
I do have a question on the property line. My name is Kenneth Rodelander, 36307 East Artie Mize. My property line runs a quarter mile north and south. It's loaded with trees right on the property line. It's been like that for 51 years. What about these trees? Who's going to be responsible for the trees when they fall on their property?
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, once again, we're going to move on to discussion piece for the committee that speak, and so we can discuss to see if we can either approve or deny this on forward to the Board of Aldermen. Thank you.
No, it's final. This is final.
Yeah, I'm sorry, for the finalized preliminary plat. Sorry about that. I do remember, and I can't remember if it was the first time we brought this, when it came to the fire trucks. I think the first time we got this, there was only one entryway into this development, and we asked them to come back to make it a second one and to follow the code, to make it easy for them to come in and also come out if there was a backup or a emergency. I vaguely remember that, but I do think I remember that from a time ago.
There's 2 entrances now.
Yeah, there was. So when it first came to the board years ago, I think it was one and they changed it to 2 because of that concern. But that's going off of memory. I could be wrong though, so yeah.
I think you're right.
Is that correct, Matt?
Yeah, staff did recommend 2 entrances in case one is shut down for emergencies.
Good memory. Good job.
Regarding Mr. Roadlander's question about the tree line, is it going to remain there, or?
So it would definitely be our intention to maintain trees. There are some absolutely gorgeous trees on that property, and, we will be maintaining what trees we can. I can't speak to his specific property line because I haven't, looked at that particular one. But as a general rule, and our past practice, and again, I use Heritage Farms, and everybody's welcome to go out there and take a look at it. We kept absolutely every tree that we could.
Is that the one on 150?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim.
I may have misunderstood the question. It may have been preservation of the trees, but I thought I understood it as who's going to take care of the trees when they fall on his property. Was that the?
Yeah, that's what I heard as well.
Yeah, so that was part of the question. So, definitely as a property rights question, one of the things that I would say that this gives an advantage, like right now, which today, even if this project didn't move forward, I'm more than happy to give anybody my card if something like that happens, because it could happen now easier. those are things that the property owner should and would take care of. I will add, one of the advantages to this moving forward versus some other mechanisms for developing the ground, there is going to be a homeowners association. So now it's not going to be a very, it's only 50 homes. We're not putting in a community pool or those types of things. But there is still going to be a central point of contact. So the homeowners, with the adjacent properties and stuff like that, will have those contacts available to them. And, some of the things that do pop up, we've got some, landscaping, some enhanced landscaping that's going out at the street, the trails, those types of things. Those are all going to be maintained, and that's all going to happen through this homeowners association. So, when those things do pop up, there is a mechanism to deal with them.
I ask it because he asked it, as I understood the question. In general, the whole issue of trees falling on adjacent people's property is universal. It's not the subdivisions problem. It happens every day, and there's established rules and laws about who's supposed to do what and what you can and can't cut, and there's kind of a legal precedence for all of that stuff, so.
Correct. Thank you.
I do have a question, and you guys can educate me on this, because a lot of them mention cattle. When you have cattle, don't you already have like an enclosed barrier for your cattle? That's like a requirement to keep anybody from them coming down or up or whichever like that, or?
Yeah, if they've got a mind of their own, they oftentimes don't respect fences. It's a common thing, nor do kids.
Also, what's been brought up a few times is a lot of these old fences aren't gonna match what real property lines are. So when they go through and develop, what happens to our fence if it's 3 feet on the wrong side? Does it just get knocked down? Does it get put back up? What happens from there? Most of us probably have fence up, we have our livestock in, but is it gonna remain up through the process? If the property lines aren't where, 75 years ago when Grandpa put the fence up, it may not be there anymore. That may not be exact.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that.
As I understood that issue, I think they addressed it by saying that they'd work with the property owners. I've got a similar situation on my property. Developers building 28 new lots up against my north and east property lines, I preemptively paid to have the property all surveyed and staked and pins, and, some fences were on the line, some fences weren't, I don't know. They'll have to address it on a lot-by-lot basis. As I understood his response a while ago, is that he would work with individual lot owners to make sure it was worked out. But obviously, if one's jogging in and out, it's just something that has to be resolved. We were talking last week about adverse possession, and there's issues with that. And if you've been maintaining it, there's court issues, so it's a whole litany of stuff that just has to play out as the development goes along, whether you fight it, if they pay and have the property surveyed, there'll be markers, that'll be, what the meets and bounds descriptions by the county dictate. It'll all be laid out by a licensed surveyor to the 100th of a foot. They'll reconcile all those boundaries, and they may or may not line up with the fences, as someone said, or multiple people said. So at that point, you just have to resolve it. Some people will want to hold on to that fence line. Other people may not care. The individuals will probably build their own fences, but they won't have the right to take down the fences that's already been established unless you agree to that. So there's not anything this board can specifically do. And I'll just speak generally to this board, and
Right.
The public can listen in, but the way this board works, whether we like it or not, the city, through significant effort, staff and others, make every reasonable effort to make sure that, one, we pass regulations and rules. We've spent a lot of time, I've been doing this off and on for 25 years, on this board and other positions in the city, trying to make sure, that we preemptively anticipate all of the things that could possibly come up and that we'd have to address. And it's impossible to do, I can tell you. You can't pass enough rules to, outthink every situation that can come up. But we're obligated by law, if the developer meets the regulations that are on the books at the time that he presents his plat, we can't preemptively say, oh, he's, doing this, we aren't going to allow that, we're going to change the rules out from under him. We can get sued over that and lose. So, and the city has in the past run into that where they tried to preemptively change the rules after the fact. So we're not going to do, or I'm not going to vote to do anything like that. So that being said, as Matt, when you may or may not have picked it up, but when he was reading the provisions and the directions to this board, I don't remember the exact terms, but the term was that if it meets all the regulations, the board shall approve. We don't have any choice but to approve if they meet it all. My biggest concern, and I guess I would put out a general comment, to the developer, I'm not a big fan of septic systems. They always seem to, fail. I realize that the regulations provide for them, certain lot size restrictions, and as everybody, as I kind of stated before, if they meet the regulations, we can't deny it whether we dislike it or not, But I would just put out the general comment to the developer that if you could maybe look at like an E1 system or some kind of, pumped, I know you got rock, you've got topography issues, it's not conducive to the sewer, but the current price, for a lateral system, somewhere between maybe $20,000 and $70,000 per lot. Those individuals, they're going to spend that money to put a house on that, in addition to the $600,000 to $1 million to build the house, and maybe that's included in the price. But it seems like maybe a Vermeer machine with the, ejection pump stations, they do it in the Branson and southern Missouri area all the time, where they do, these pumped ejection systems, because there's just no other way to do it. And they apparently work, and then the sewage goes to a legitimate treatment plant, and there's not the issue of runoff. And it seems like, okay, maybe it adds to the lot price, but it seems like that a system like that would eliminate that potential for, I remember one particular house that I encountered where there were 26 adults living in the house along with children. We don't know how many people are going to live in. The sewage system was completely overwhelmed, It was out in the county, and so there was nobody really regulating it. But when those systems break down, when they're not maintained, then sewage starts, seeping out and running off, and water quality fails. They may meet design standards, but I'm not a big fan of them. I will vote to approve this because based on the staff's review, you meet all the requirements, so there's really nothing this board can do to deny it, But it seems like that a system like that might be both financially and environmentally viable if it was looked into. Trying to think of the other stuff. Privacy fences, that's not going to happen. runoff, stormwater. I mean, I like the idea of the ditch checks if they're permanent and they have some way of wearing out that water in the channelized, the pre and post developed runoff can be managed effectively. I don't know that I'm a big fan of ribbon curb, but, it's probably better than channelizing it and dropping it off the curb in one big flow. So, it's reasonable. I will say generically, the 3 acres, I mean, this thing was already approved for several hundred houses, so, and they wouldn't have had individual septic systems, but like the traffic impact, the amount of kids, just the overall, I mean, this is about as unegregious of a development, if you're gonna have property developed, it's about as friendly as it gets, so, so that's about all I have to say.
No, very well said. I thank you for doing the explanation on how the process works. And I will agree that this was already approved for quite a few
Yeah, twice.
houses.
I mean, it expired in,
3 years ago, correct?
yeah.
3 years ago this was approved?
Longer than that.
No?
Yeah, it was approved a couple years, 4 years ago, and then again 2 years ago, for
Yeah.
379 lots.
Right.
So.
All right, perfect. Do we have any more discussion? Any questions? Anything else? So I just want to let you know, just to be respectful, we did close the public hearing, and then we allowed you guys to come back up and ask more questions for just the sake of everything.
Just curious about blasting. Are we doing any blasting?
We don't have any scheduled, but
Sorry.
All right, you're okay. Just remind everybody, the public hearing's closed, the extra questions are closed, the board's in discussion, and from there, we'll finish out the meeting. I appreciate it. All right, if we have no more questions or discussion, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat.
Go ahead.
I may just want to clarify with the conditions as presented. I did misspeak on the one, it's an eastbound, not a westbound right turn lane, so.
Yeah.
The one that you clarified with Pam a while ago, correct?
Yeah, in my staff report, I put westbound, but it's eastbound, so.
No, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. And all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. All right. We just did that. Da-da-da. All right. If there are no more discussions, do we have a motion?
I would just like to make one more comment. I'd like to thank all you guys for coming out. I can't tell you, I mean, the previous two approvals, we didn't have anybody show up. It's nice to get input when we can, and we certainly appreciate you taking the time and stuff to show up and let us know what you're.
I do have one comment. The letters that were sent out to the public, they were not addressed as Ward. They were addressed as someone else. And I kind of feel like that's a switch in things.
Did we send any letters out?
Yes, you guys did. Yes. They
I-
were not addressed as the true.
It's Blue Springs Storage.
It's because that's who
Okay.
owns them. They own the Blue Springs Storage. They are Country Club Homes as well.
I know, but here
Okay,
he said
so-
Ward. He said Ward. So it's just something maybe you guys need to make sure when you're doing this.
Oh, for a separate issue?
No, just,
So-
when he started reading it, he said Ward Development, but that's not the letters that we received.
So, I mean,
I'm just saying.
we can talk about this after the meeting if you want, but
Fine, I'm just saying.
there was no notification sent out for a hearing for this specific thing.
Yes, that's correct. The public hearing was for the first item on the agenda, correct?
The actual,
And it says the Edgewood Development, Artie Mize, and it's from the city?
All right, excuse me. Let's let the city staff explain and talk real quick.
if I may clarify, so
Yes.
the preliminary plat does not require a public hearing. We send a courtesy letter so neighbors will know that we're not necessarily required to do that, but we did that so
Okay.
people would know
All
that
right.
this is here, so they could come participate as part of it. There was not a formal public hearing requirement, but you, as the planning commission, allowed them to communicate. In my memo, I mentioned in discussion, I said ward development. The actual development is Blue Spring Safety Storage. That is who's actually applied, that is on the application, and that was what's in the letter. So I just want to be clear, not bait and switch, that is actually who has submitted the application, and that's why they're listed on the letter.
All right.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. All right. Are there any communication and correspondence? Are there any additional items? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.